Hey guys and gals, Young Gun Umpires here. Thanks for joining us. Me and Nikki Schwaha. Last week we covered plate mechanics, and this week we're going to go into our base umpire mechanics. Today we broke it down into two sections. So today we're going to do A position. We'll have another video that comes out on Thursday, and Sean and Nobu will be heading that up, and that'll be B and C positioning. Okay, so we're going to stick to the basics here. We're going to talk about our mechanics, our positioning, and give you some black and white stuff, and as well as some philosophies. So our points of emphasis today is, positioning, general responsibilities. We're going to get into pause, read, and react, talk about the vitality of that, umpires pivot, us taking plays at first base, and, most importantly, what we always talk about is timing. From here, we're going to go right into positioning, and Nick's going to take that over and run us through some things.
So where we start off, very general basic thing, where we start off on the field and our positioning when we are in A. So as we know, A position is behind first base. Both feet are in foul territory. It's very important that we are in foul territory. There's two stances that you can do, and it's basically like the plate. You can do like be square to the plate with your shoulders and hands on knees, or you can do like the scissor sort of thing with 1 foot forward. But the biggest thing is you got to look engaged every single pitch. It's very important. The other thing is you can't be all that close to first base, because that if you're too close to first base, then you got to work backwards and work towards the outfield. If you have a play at first base, you got to work back. So we're saying generally about stay 10 to 15 feet from first base. There's other stuff that affects where we stand, and we'll get into it a few bullets down, but the other thing is we need to be in a position to see that catch, no catch on the top of the first baseman's shoe tops. So that means we got to be somewhat close to him to be able to see that. So I like to be 2 to 3 steps behind him. And that's also another thing. We always got to be behind the first baseman. We never want to be in front of him. And then it goes right into that, that we can't be too far back. If we're too far back from the first baseman, we're not going to be able to help out or get that responsibility. If he dives to his left, that's our call. That's no longer the plate umpire's call. So we got to be in a position to see that. So what I think about when I'm doing some games is, where is the first baseman set up? Is he set up in front of the bag, behind the bag? That's one. The other thing is, how close is he to first base? If he's closer than that 10 to 15 feet that we are telling you to be, then we don't want to be up next to him anymore. We should continually be 10 to 15 feet from first base. Give or take a few feet, whatever's comfortable for you guys, but generally stay within that at all times. And then also, there's this idea of, if we're that close to the first baseman, if he's playing on the line, we can't be that 2 steps behind him, because if he does that quick dive to catch the ball to his left, he's going to run into us, possibly. So we need to keep some distance the closer he gets to the foul line. If he's playing well off the foul line towards second base, we could be even closer. We could be in line with him. So, and now we're going into general responsibilities. We've broken this down into 3 areas. There's a lot of other stuff that go into general responsibilities. There's a lot of miscellaneous stuff that we could talk about, but we're just breaking it down into the simplest form: outfield coverage, fair foul responsibilities, and then catches and no catches within the infield, and the communication that has to go along with that. So outfield coverage, when we're in A, the outfield coverage is split in half. So from the center fielder towards the right field line is the base umpire, and from the center fielder over to the left field line is the plate umpire. Any movement from that center fielder towards the line, towards the left field line, we're going to give that to the plate umpire. Any towards the right field line, we're going to give to the base umpire, with some exceptions here though. So if the base umpire does not go out on a fly ball in his coverage area, so from the center fielder over to the foul line, the plate umpire has that responsibility now. And then the idea of us going out is broken down in this idea of trouble, and we're going to get into that. But there's instances where the base umpire would want to go out into the outfield to help out with catch and no catches. And later on, we're going to have presentations about how the 2 umpire system works. As we know, the plate umpire, if he goes out, the plate umpire's got to come up, and he's going to take the batter runner all the way around. But we're going to get into this idea of trouble now. But this is just a photo. I know some people are more visual learners. This comes from the CCA manual, which is the college mechanics book. It's just a visual representation of the outfield coverage. We see that the dotted line in the center field shows that U1 has, or the base umpire has everything on that side, and the plate umpire has that side, so the other one. But when should the base umpire go out? So as I said, this idea of trouble. And what I've seen over time in my short 10 years of umpiring here is that people have this general idea of what trouble is and when to go out, but they don't understand and really know what defines trouble. There's 4 criteria for that. One is a ball threatening a boundary line. So that is a home run fence or the fence on in foul territory on the first base side. There needs to be an umpire out there. So that means the base umpire is going to go out and take responsibility of that ball. So the quote that we have is ball to the wall. Pro umpire school uses that thought process. So anytime a ball is going towards a wall high up in the air as a potential to going over that fence or anything, we should get an umpire out there. The other one is converging fielders. So anytime there are fielders that are there's a possibility of fielders colliding or not, or the ball dropping in between them, or just anything really, that we have 2 fielders or more than 2 fielders coming together with a catch or no catch possibility, we should have the base umpire should go out on that. Then the other one I put with the converging fielders is catch below the waist. So we have the center fielder or the right fielder charging hard in, and there's going to be possibility of a dive, or there's going to be a slide, a basket catch, or something like that. We should get it. The base umpire should go out for that, because if he dives out and it's a trap and we don't go out on that, we're going to give that up to the plate umpire, and he's 60, 80 feet away, so he doesn't have a great look at that. So if we put an umpire out in the outfield for that, that would be much better for the crew. The other one is fair foul. So the base umpire has all responsibility, and we're going to get into it a little bit more, but he has all responsibility of fair foul past the base. So anytime the ball is going to be possibility of fair foul, even around the foul pole, the base umpire should go out. And Jacob and I are going to touch on this right now. We've seen that a lot of the times when base umpires go out is that they just run. There's no real meaning behind it. And a lot of the times they are in jeopardy of not being able to see the true catch or no catch or trap or anything like that, because they don't really find angles and they don't run with a purpose or have in their mind of what they should be looking for. Jacob, you got anything else on that?
Yeah, guys. So it's kind of like some of you guys that work second base in a 4-man system. You don't just run aimlessly, especially when there's a catch that goes straight back. You're working to the glove side of the fielder, right? So there are 2 different ways that you can go about this. There's a safe way that we teach down here in Louisiana, running straight down the foul line. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but no matter what, a lot of the time, especially when you have a play coming in or going towards the line, even going back, straight back, you're going to create an angle, right? But sometimes that right fielder, that center fielder is just opening up and they're straight back. And you just have to create an angle and get to that glove side. So the most important thing of this is to understand that we're not running aimlessly out to look good. This is not just to look good. This is to create an angle to see a difficult catch, no catch, because what have we been talking about this whole entire time? Trouble. We're not going out on a can of corn. If there's no trouble, no need for us to go out, right? So we're going to create an angle to see that trouble ball.
Yep. And like Jacob just said, the philosophy down south is that you run down the line. And up here we're taught, and neither are wrong or correct. They have both their pros and cons. And whatever works for you and you're comfortable with, do it. But what we're taught up here is, if you deem it as trouble, and how we get to that process, we're going to get into a little bit later with pause, read, and reacting. But if you deem it as trouble, what I do, and many guys up here, is we run straight at the fielder and then we create our angle from there. Just like I just said, whatever works for you, stick to that. You're going to hear many philosophies as you work your way up through the ranks. Whatever works for you and whatever you feel gets you the best result, do that. So now we're going to get into the fair foul responsibilities and infield coverage. So in a two-man system, the plate umpire has all the fair foul responsibilities, no matter what, on the left field line. So the base umpire has no responsibilities there, so you don't have to worry about that. But as though we're talking about the A position, right? We have responsibility from the front edge of the bag all the way to the fence. So anytime, like I said earlier, anytime there's a possibility of fair foul behind you, you should be going out. But we also have to be in a position to see that front edge of that bag to make sure if we get that whacker fair foul that just clips the corner, we got to be in position to see that. And this is both of these, infield coverage and fair foul, are a really good pregame discussion with your partner on how we're going to handle this kind of stuff. So, and then the other photo on the right, we have the infield coverage. The philosophy and the idea of this is that anytime the fielder is going towards you and the glove is open to you, you should take responsibility of that ball and that call. So the plate umpire has the vast majority of this just because the base umpire in a two-man system is not in the greatest position to start off with. And being that the coverage for him is just on the right side of the field, with the exception of the shortstop going towards the out center field. But just always think of the rule of thumb. If the fielder is going towards you on the catch or no catch, take responsibility of that. So.
All right, guys, we're going to go right into pause, read, and react. I mentioned something about working second base in a four-man system. Pause, read, and react, and you can see it here where it says keeps the integrity of the umpire system if properly used, is a very vital aspect. It allows you to have great communication with your partners. It raises our chances of getting plays right when we can read our partners right. So especially when we're talking about the two-man system, speaking of the base umpire, that's an A, when deciding to go out on fly balls, to come in, all this stuff is going to come into play. And one of the most, I guess you could say, kind of things that concern me the most when I'm out there watching younger umpires or just watching a ball game that's a lower level game, or even some of the high school games that are going around here, is that the ball's hit and we're moving like that. There's no reaction time. There's nothing to look at, nothing to think about. We're just running in, right? Guys, most of the time when we're talking about us right now, we're on 90-foot baseball fields. There is no rush whatsoever. Take your time, do your thing, right? We want to hear the crack, we want to see the ball, and most important thing we want to do is read our fielders. The fielder is going to take you to the baseball. There's no need for us to look up and be scrounging for the baseball. Right where you're at, come out of your stance, pause, read, and react. Pause. We're going to read our fielders, and now we're going to react. Is that a trouble ball? No. Now I'm going inside. Now I'm going to do my pivot. We're going to get into that. But if it's not trouble, get inside, take your time. We got all the time in the world. We can adjust our angles on our pivot if we need to. We can adjust our angles on and our steps and taking plays at first. There's no need for us to rush. Pause, read, and react. And I preach that so much. When I learned that, I can't tell you the amount of steps I took up in my game when I pause, read, and react. For so long, I was so worried about getting here and getting there. Take your time. No problem. Pause, read, and react. The next thing we're going to get into is our umpire's pivot. So we're going to go through two ways of doing this. There's a traditional, you're going to see LRL, that stands for left, right, left. That is the mechanic that they teach at pro school. That is something that you are heavily graded on when you go there, is your pivot. They want guys that are athletic. They want guys that look clean in that pivot. So that is one way to do it. That is the way that I practice and that I work in my games. I look good doing it. I feel good doing it. and it gives me a sense of rhythm. The now kind of way of doing it now is the over-the-shoulder look. So from one side of our shoulder to the other, we've got the touch on this side. Now we're taking the actual batter runner into the next base or whatever it may be. So there's nothing wrong with either of those two things. They're both options for you. Whatever one you're doing, though, you got to work hard to do it. We got to make sure that we have our eyes on the batter runner. We got to worry about the touch, no touch. We have to make sure that we don't have obstruction around the base. Plays back into first as well. And most importantly, not trailing that batter runner in second base. It's so important to beat him there and to not be looking at his back on a play. We don't want to be looking at butt and elbows, right? So same thing on a pickoff play back in the first, same thing on a play going into second, right? And now we're going to get into, we're talking about our umpire's pivot, deep cuts and shallow cuts, right? So there's a drill that I came up on. We would set up 3 baseballs. One that was right on the cutout, the next one that was about 2 feet away from it, and the other one was about another 2 feet away from it. And those represented right field, center field, left field. And when I say that, that's just the realm of things. There are going to be times where we have balls that are gappers, balls that are no doubters, tweeners. We have to adjust our angles. If I know a ball is going in the gap, there's no need for me to bust my butt right into the cutout. I know I'm going into second base. I know that there may be a play at second base. So there's no reason why I can't widen my angle out and almost be, split almost the baseline in half between first and second and be there. Now I'm planted. And the most important thing is when we're getting inside, we're not looking at the batter runner the whole time. We're picking up the baseball. Our head has to be on a swivel at that point. Ball, runner, ball, runner, ball, runner. We're going to take him all the way into his turn, and we're going to take him all the way back into first base. But the most important thing, this goes back into pause, reading, and reacting. That's going to tell us where our cut's at. If I know the ball is a clean base hit to the center fielder, I don't have to bust butt either way. I can go right there in the middle, take my runner through his turn, and take him right back into first base. And we want to do that with our emotions, actually, not with our eyes. It shows that we're engaged, shows that we're working hard, and we're going to get into that when we're talking about the rotations and stuff. We're creating another video for that between the plate umpire and the base umpire. We're going to talk about working our way back into the 45-foot mark on the first base line and all that stuff. But the most important thing to understand here is know your cuts and understand that pause, reading, and reacting gives you an opportunity to be successful by creating a good place to pivot and your deep cuts and your shallow cuts. We're going to go right from umpire's pivot into taking place at first base from A. Again, we're going to talk about 2 philosophies here. This is specifically between me and Nick, and I'm sure that there are other people around the world that practice these 2 things. I'm a 90-degree angle guy. I create a 90-degree angle from the ball and the base and me. So when I say that, a lot of guys like to use 2, 4, and 6. So 2 steps off the line to second base on this side of second base. Guys like to use 4 steps off the line on the other side of second base around the shortstop area. And some guys like to use 6 steps off the line to the third base and beyond that way. That's something that I practice. There's nothing wrong with it. But you're going to see a lot of the higher level guys, they're starting to do the 2 steps off the line. Again, nothing wrong with it. The only thing that I'm suggesting that you do is you pick one and you're consistent with it, especially when you're coming up, because it allows you to see plays the same way over and over again. It goes back to this, everything's hand in hand. It's a ground-up operation. It's going back to the plate umpire mechanics when we talk about our head height, using our eyes, when we're working the slot. When we're seeing pitches consistently over and over and over again from the same spot, it's a second nature. I'm a big second nature guy. It creates a consistency, a discipline, and it creates a second nature. That's why those guys in the major leagues are so good. They've done it for so long. It's not just because they're good. It's because they've created a second nature about themselves. So, like I said, you're going to see a lot of higher-level guys doing the 2 steps off the line. You're still going to see a bunch of higher-level guys doing the 90-degree angle too. There's nothing wrong with either one. Just make sure whatever one you're doing, you're staying consistent with. So now we're going to talk about our timing. I got the opportunity to talk about timing with our plate mechanics. And I said it here, it's the most important aspects of umpiring, plate and base, right? timing comes from experience. I can't sit here on this video and teach you timing. Someone that is evaluating you in person cannot teach you timing. The only thing that I can do and that person can do is tell you to slow down. It's going to take time and maybe even take some rough plays for you to get in your head that, hey, man, I'm in control of this. I've got the outer safe call, and I'm there. So, and especially when taking plays at first base, all it's going to go into proper use of your eyes. Especially, you know, we all know we're going to have those whackers at first base that are they're going to require a punch out, okay, and the timing is going to feel weird and all this stuff. But especially on plays that are no doubters, something that I do and I know that Nick practices is, bam, play happens. I take that ball almost all the way to the shortstop. I know that now I have a catch. The ball is stopped, the momentum is stopped, and now I have voluntary release. So I have the criteria met for a catch, and so a clean out, and now I'm going to signal out. And again, there's going to be whackers where we have to practice our timing. Those are when it's really going to matter. It's easy for a bang play to happen, and bam, wow. And then there's a timing play where, oh crap, whack. So we don't want to rush those plays, because just on that play, the same thing can happen where the ball comes up and he picks the ball and the ball's on the ground, and now we got one of these. Relax, take your time. We're not going anywhere. It's all on you. There's no such thing as slow timing. I said it in last week's video, and I'm saying it again here. Take your time. We're not going anywhere. Just make sure that, and I say this, and I'm telling you that this is the correct way to do it. Don't be a show me the ball guy. Use your eyes. We got to know where the ball's at, whether it's in the glove or not. We know those plays that are going to be trapped. We know those plays that things are going to happen. So use your eyes. Don't be a show me the ball guy. That's just one of my pet peeves. I know that Nick does not like that either. That's something that we definitely agree on. And so just take your time using your eyes. So the most important thing to take away from this slide is timing. I can't preach it enough. I've watched big-time guys and big-time plays where it's not about them getting the play wrong. It's about their timing. You know, you could tell if they took an extra half second, maybe they would have gotten that play right. Maybe they would have gotten an opportunity to make themselves successful in that tough situation, because the biggest plays, those have to be your best timing. That play at the plate, that swipe tag at first base, reading the players, all that stuff, it goes into timing. So
I'll just say something
yeah,
really fast.
Nick, go ahead.
Is that, if Jacob already said it, but if we practice our timing on every single of those plays that are wide open, when it comes to those bang plays, we're not going to have an issue, because now it has become that second nature of waiting for that play to happen, looking for that firm and secure possession and voluntary release. Do it every single play, no matter what. So when you're in that big game, or when you're just in any game really, and there's that whacker, you're going to have a good time.
Yep.
So
absolutely. I think this takes us into our words of advice. Guys, we talked about quite a few things here in A. For me, the things to take away from here are three things: understanding our responsibilities, pause, read, and react, and our timing. When you can understand those three things in depth, you take your game to the next level. I cannot preach enough about timing. It's something that I learned, thank God, quickly, and it has brought me to a different level of my game. That's something that I've worked on so hard, and it's something that I'm thankful that when I get into my bigger games, I'm not worrying about as much. So I encourage you to work hard on your timing, even when you're watching games, when you're watching videos. Critique yourself, man. Be your biggest critic. Continue to work hard, and especially during this time, we have all this time on our hands. And on a personal note, I hope everybody's staying safe. God bless you and your families, and thanks for watching and keep supporting us, and we appreciate it, Nick.
yeah, everything that Jacob just said, and then I would just say, being that we do have the downtime, get online, watch some old games, watch those umpires, watch what they do. Get in your head and drill it into your head that sometimes what they do, especially at the big league level, is a little advanced and a little bit more thought processed. But just think of why they're doing it. Think of, hey, why is he taking that play on the outside of second? Why is he only 2 steps off the line? Why is he getting the 90 degree? Everyone has their own thought process. So I implore that you just come up with your own thought process. And if it makes sense for you, great. And allow people to challenge that thought process and you defend it. And then the only other thing I would say, and it's hard right now, is get out there and work. Do as many games as possible. It's the only way you're going to get reps in for base umpire. People think that base umpiring is just a day off. And it really isn't. There are games where the base umpire does way more than the plate umpire. So always continually do all your games the same, no matter if you're plate or the base. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like we said, coming up this Thursday, Sean and Nobu will be doing another video on the B and C position. And like we said earlier, this is just a generalized presentation, and the one on Thursday will be of how A and then B and C work. There's a lot of other things that go into it, and you'll learn that throughout time. And if you have any questions or concerns about our thoughts on anything, our processes, just shoot us a message, and we're more than happy to answer them for you. So I hope you guys all have a great night, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.